How can a leadership team hold each other accountable in a way that is still going to protect culture and allow people to move forward in a positive way?
I love that you asked that question. So one of the reasons why I help create scorecards for my clients is it's a scorecard that everyone is going to see. So, everyone that goes into this leadership meeting knows that everyone is going to see their numbers. And when you show week over week that you are not hitting your numbers, peer pressure comes into the picture when you're in leadership, because I'm not talking to entry level employees anymore, right? I'm
Right,
talking
right,
to the
right.
leadership
Leadership.
of the company. And so it always happens that someone says, "Man, are you serious? Again?" There always happens. And if not, then there's a problem with the accountability of the team. And typically, it even comes from the founder. Typically, I see owners have problems having or have difficulty having those hard conversations with their
Yes.
staff and saying, what's going on, right? And so this is where I always think that everything stems from the top. So if you as the owner are not hitting your numbers, you can't ask your team, like you can't even hold them accountable because you're saying, "Well, I'm not doing it either," right?
Right,
So
right.
culture always stems from the top. And so when you have an owner, a founder that is guns a-blazing, hitting these targets, they're setting the pace for the company. So their staff, you feel uncomfortable when you're a high performer put in with a low performer, the low performer will always feel uncomfortable around them. And so, but if you're the founder, you address it, right? But typically, these are things that you would find out pretty quickly within like 90 days of onboarding someone and bringing them onto your company. So it shouldn't be like a reoccurring problem. But one, I see that having the transparency and the numbers within the leadership team, it builds off peer pressure. It makes people more accountable, makes them end up performing better.
Right.
If not, then the leader really needs to address it. And I mean, it depends on what owner I'm working with, whether they feel comfortable addressing it in front of the meeting or they prefer to be private, behind the door and talk to them, behind closed doors, which is fine. But the point is, it needs to be addressed because you can't
Yes.
have metrics, you can't have this data and feedback and not do anything about it. And so the whole
Mhm.
point of the metrics is to help hold your team accountable to help reach the company goals, right? So this is if we help as every team member is helping the corporate vision. And so when we help the company reach its goals, if the company's large enough and, your goals are also tied to that because once the company makes more money, if you have performance bonuses or things tied to how well you're doing to help them reach the company goals, then you're going to make more money as well. So there's a lot of factors into it, but this is typically what I see.
To me, it sounds like it would make things easier for a leader or the group to support each other because of what you're describing as that transparency.
Mhm.
One of the things that popped to mind as you were sharing that is in terms of leadership, I feel that in most instances, you want to praise publicly and you want to critique privately.
Mhm.
So I do agree. You were saying the leader may decide to address if it's a chronic situation, address that privately, and then allow that natural, competitive, friendly competition of peer pressure be the public acknowledgement of like, hey, need some help there, and hopefully it sounds like this is cultivating a culture where the peers would support each other. Like, dude, you missed your goal again this Thursday. Let's get together. Let's work all day together side by side. So it sounds like it is something that would be beneficial.
It
And
depends
as
on
you
the
mentioned,
culture.
those goals of the corporation, it does sound like you're creating a scenario with the goals and the metrics that it's a rising tide that will lift all the boats. Is that yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yes. Because while depending on the workload that every leader has, they may or may not hear that, right? Oh, well, I could help you with that goal or I could help you. What's going on? The whole point is we need to have transparency and honesty when we're having these meetings because the point of leadership meetings is to kind of see where we're at and also solve problems. If we're seeing this as a pattern, then it becomes a problem, right?
Mhm.
Of no accountability, underperforming. So we need to talk about it. We need to be okay talking about it. And so you were mentioning, to praise in public and to critique in private. And while I agree with that, I've learned that it depends on the owner because I've seen, depending on, how big a company is, but typically core values stem from the owner. So
Yes.
the owner should be really tied, should reflect, right, the values of the company. So if you have an owner that is very competitive and is very honest, maybe brutally honest sometimes they will correct them right in the meeting. But I often see the opposite, honestly. I often see many times they would rather avoid the conversation than address it. And so I have to bring it up sometimes to the owner and say, well, we need to do something about this because if not, like, this is a leader, right? And so we're talking to your right, left hands, of this organization. And if they're not on board, then what does that say about the rest of the team, right? If these are leaders, so people report to them.
Right.
And so a lot of times
So there has to
the
be that candor.
it has to, yes, 100%. And if you don't have candor in your organization, then everyone's hiding things from you, right? As the owner, no one's telling you the truth. They don't want you to rebuke them, scold them, right? They don't want you to tell them the truth. And so we need to have that candor within these leadership meetings because if we can't be honest to the leaders, we will much less be, we're not going to be honest then to even the those that report under them.
That's
So,
right.
it's just something that we need to address.